Here's what nobody tells you about starting something new in midlife. You will never feel ready. Not next month, not after you finish that course, not when the kids are older, or when you have more time, or when you finally figure out exactly what you're doing. Ready doesn't come knocking. Willingness does. And if you're waiting to feel confident before you take that first step, you're going to be waiting a very long time because confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after, sometimes way after. Today, we're talking about the first brave thing, that scary, wobbly, I have no idea what I'm doing step that gets you from thinking about a new life to actually living it. If you've been doing the internal work, the permission giving, the identity work, the messy middle navigation, but you still haven't actually started the thing, this episode is for you. Welcome to The Joy Shift. I'm Kylie Suarez. Let's get into it. By the end of today's conversation, you'll understand why waiting to feel ready keeps you stuck, how to tell the difference between fear and genuine misalignment, and exactly what your first brave thing could look like, even if you're starting from scared. Let me tell you about the year I wrote romance novels and couldn't bring myself to tell my husband what I was actually writing. It was 2020, pandemic. My family knew that anytime I wasn't running the office or taking care of the home, I was hunkered down writing. But when they'd ask what I was working on, I'd get vague. Oh, just a story, just some writing stuff. Because here's what I was actually writing. Romance novels, meet cutes and happily ever afters. And I could not imagine admitting that to my husband, a man who does not appreciate a good rom-com or a chick flick. I knew how to be responsible. I knew how to be practical. I didn't know how to want something just because it lit me up. I managed his urology practice. I was the numbers person, the business brain, not the writing love stories person. And now I was supposed to say, hey, honey, I'm writing love stories. It felt ridiculous, embarrassing, like admitting to something frivolous when I was supposed to be serious. I finished a book, published it under a pen name, then wrote another one and another one. And the whole time I was waiting to feel ready to tell them. Well, actually, they figured it out when they started seeing all those boxes arrive. Waiting for the moment when I'd feel confident enough, successful enough, legitimate enough to say, I write romance novels. You know what I learned? Ready never showed up. It wasn't until I finally got tired of hiding, not because I suddenly felt brave, but because keeping a secret was exhausting, that I told him that I'd actually been doing. And you know what happened? He was curious and he was friggin' proud. Asked a few questions, didn't make a big deal of it. And all the time I spent building up at this moment in my head, all that worry about what he'd think. And here's what I want you to hear. Ready is a myth. It's a moving target that your brain uses to keep you safe. Because to be honest with you, he was damn encouraging. Your brain says, when you're ready, then you can start. But what it really means is, let's not do anything that feels risky or uncomfortable or like we might fail. Because here's the thing about starting something new in midlife. Especially if you've spent decades being the responsible one, it's supposed to feel uncomfortable. You're supposed to not know what you're doing. That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. That's a sign that you're doing something new. The question isn't, am I ready? The question is, am I willing? So if we're not waiting for ready, what are we doing with all this fear? Because let's be honest, the fear doesn't go away just because you decide to start anyway. I still get nervous every time I publish something, every time I share something personal, every time I tell someone what I'm working on, every time I put something on Instagram. That voice that says, who do you think you are, still shows up regularly. But here's what I've learned about fear. Fear isn't the problem. Letting fear drive is the problem. Fear can ride shotgun. It can sit right there next to you in the passenger seat. You can even acknowledge it. Well, there you are again. Yeah, this is scary. I see you, but you don't hand it the steering wheel. Now, there's a difference between fear and your body telling you something is genuinely wrong. We talked about this in episode 6 when we talked about coming home to your body. So how do you tell the difference? Here's what I ask myself. Does this feel wrong or does it just feel new? Fear that keeps you stuck usually sounds like, what will people think? I'm too old for this. What if I fail? Who am I to do this? That's fear of judgment, fear of being seen. Fear of not being perfect. That fear is trying to protect you from discomfort, not from danger. But fear that's actually wisdom sounds different. It sounds like, this doesn't feel aligned with who I'm becoming. Something about this feels off in my gut. I'm forcing this because I think I should want it, but I don't actually want it. That's different. That's not fear of starting. That's clarity that this particular thing isn't yours to do. And that's okay. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to say, this looked like the right path, but it's not. But if you're feeling scared because it's new, because you might mess up, because people might have opinions or judge, That's just your brain trying to keep you comfortable. And comfortable is not the same as safe. So you thank the fear, you let it sit in the passenger seat, and you keep driving. Okay, so we've established that you don't need to feel ready, and fear is coming along for the ride, whether you like it or not. So what does your first brave thing actually look like? Because I think we have this idea that brave has to be big, dramatic, a grand declaration. But most of the time, brave is quiet, it's small, it's private. I think about the first brave thing in three categories, and you get to choose which one feels possible for you right now. First, private bravery. This is the bravery that happens in the early morning, in the journal, in the draft folder, in the class you take online where nobody knows your name. This is writing the first chapter, researching the thing you've been curious about, signing up for the course, trying something new where no one's watching. Private bravery is where most of us need to start because it gives you space to be bad at something, to explore without explaining yourself. Second, relational bravery. This is telling one safe person what you're thinking about, what you're working on, what you're curious about, not announcing it to the world, just announcing it out loud to someone who won't try to talk you out of it. This is where having a witness matters. Someone who can hold the vision with you when you're feeling wobbly and listen. And if you don't have that person in your life right now, that's okay. That's actually one of the reasons I do life coaching, because sometimes you need someone who can see what you're building here before you're ready to show it to anyone else. You don't need a whole cheering section. You just need one or two people who won't make you feel ridiculous for wanting something different. Third, external bravery. This is going public, publishing, sharing, launching, telling the world, or at least your corner of it. This is posting about what you're working on, hitting publish on the blog, telling your family you're starting something new, opening the shop, launching the thing, making it official. Most people try to jump straight to external bravery, and then they burn out or quit because it feels too exposing too fast. But bravery is a muscle. You build it in private before you take it public. So where are you? Are you still in the private stage, needing space to explore without judgment? Are you ready for relational bravery, saying it out loud to one safe person? Or are you standing at the edge of external bravery, ready to go public even though it's terrifying? There's no right answer. You just have to know where you are so you can take the next step that actually fits. So let's get really practical. What's the first brave thing you could do this week? Not the impressive thing, not the thing that makes a great story, just the next true thing. Maybe it's spending 30 minutes researching that idea you've been sitting on, signing up for the class you keep bookmarking, writing the first terrible draft of the thing, telling one person, just one, what you're thinking about, saying no to something so you have space to say yes to what matters. Here's what I want you to remember. You don't need the whole plan. You just need the next step. And sometimes the hardest part isn't knowing the step. It's trusting yourself enough to take it. When I started writing, I didn't have a plan to publish 3 books, much less 5 already. I didn't have a strategy for building an author platform or creating a coaching business. I just woke up one morning and decided to write 500 words. And then I did it again and the next day and the next. And that's how it works. Not with a perfect plan, not with total confidence, just with willingness and a next step. So before this episode ends, I want you to name it. Just one small brave thing you could do this week, not next month, this week. Write it down, tell someone, or just hold it quietly and commit to it. Because here's the truth. The life you're craving won't build itself. You have to take the first step, even when you don't feel ready. That's the joy shift. I don't know what your version of waking up at 5 a.m. to write is, but I know there's something waiting for you, some first brave thing that's been sitting in your chest asking for permission. And I know this, you don't need to feel ready. You just need to be willing. So here's your invitation for this week. Take one step, just one. Don't announce it. Don't make it a big thing. Just do it quietly and see what happens. And if you're thinking, I want to move forward, but I don't want to do this alone. That's exactly why I work with women one-on-one. Not to push you into some big dramatic life change, but to help you listen to yourself again and move forward with intention. You don't need confidence. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need support and someone who believes in what you're building. Now, I have a few favors to ask, and I don't ask lightly because I know your time and energy are precious. First, if this episode gave you the nudge you needed, if you're finally ready to stop waiting and start doing, would you share it with one woman who needs to hear it? Maybe she's been sitting on an idea for months. Maybe she keeps saying, I'll start when I'm ready. Send her this episode. Second, if you've been listening to The Joy Shift and it's helping you move forward, would you take 30 seconds to leave a review? Those reviews help other women find this show when they are looking for exactly this kind of support. It's one of the best ways you can help me reach more women who are ready for their own joy shift. Third, hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming. We're going deeper into building a life that actually fits who you're becoming, one brave step at a time. The Midlife Reinvention Starter Guide is in the show notes. It's free and it walks you through the next steps to figure out what you want and how to start moving toward it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being brave enough to start before you feel ready. Your first brave thing is waiting. I'll see you next week.